It's an amazing thing what sunlight brings to the world. The budget, what do they call it now? The continuing resolution, the spending bill. Here, let me see this here. Where was it where I said it's amazing what happens when you shine the light on things? The spending bill, now that it's got the aggregate knowledge of the interwebs on the platform, which is actual true journalism covering it, it's amazing what the internet is picking out of this bill, which is 1,547 pages long, and specifically so because they want to make it impossible for anybody to read. I actually should start with Vivek Ramaswamy's assessment of this bill. Is it this one? This is very irritating because I'm getting a little distracted. Flipping dog. Let's start here. Lauren Lee, who is busy dismantling the propaganda media at She Is Lauren Lee. Website, sheislaurenlee.com. I don't know who she is. This is not a paper. It's doing good work. The spending bill would have blocked RFK Jr. from updating his HHS, that is Health and Human Services protocol on vaccine injuries, on page 757. Because what's happening right now is you've got everybody on the internet looking through this bill with their own eyes and their own perspectives. She's looking for things related to COVID, vaccines. Page 757, the bill amends the previously passed, quote, Prevent Pandemic Act. Quote, the secretary may not revise the vaccine injury table to include a vaccine for which the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has issued a recommendation for routine use in children or pregnant women until at least one application for such vaccine has been approved. Upon such revision of the vaccine injury table, all vaccines in a vaccine category on the vaccine injury table, including vaccines authorized under emergency use, shall be considered included in the vaccine injury table. They also added, quote, an injury or death related to the administration at a time when the vaccine was a covered countermeasure subject to a declaration under the bill shall not be eligible for compensation under the program. So that's one element to it. Vivek Ramaswamy put out a short video, and it's amazing. I mean, it's you've got the smartest people on the internet dissecting these things in real time, whereas they would have passed in the dead of night, and you would have had to pass them to know what's in them, to quote what's her face. They would have passed in the dead of night, and no one would have known. And by the time anybody decides to look into it, good luck understanding it, and good luck getting it to the masses, because back in the day when media was captured, it would never have happened, period. Now, they slap a 1,547-page bill. They've got Vivek and his team going through it. They've got Elon Musk and his team going through it. They've got every independent, I'm not putting independent in quotes, independent journalist. They've got people who just want to understand the world looking through it in real time. They're not getting away with this shit anymore, and they know it. Let's hear what Vivek has to say.
Congress is about to pass a bill that blows away your taxpayer money, but they made it over 1,500 pages long so you wouldn't read it. I did you a favor. I read it for you.
It's supposed to be about keeping government operations open and providing disaster relief aid to hurricane victims, which I'm sympathetic to. But if you read the bill carefully, it contains pay raises for members of Congress, and I'm not making this up, an expansion of their federal health benefits. It contains all kinds of special interests and pork funding, including opening up a new stadium in Washington, D.C. It renews the Global Engagement Center, which is a key node of the censorship industrial complex. And the worst part is, they didn't want you to know about any of it, and that's why they made this a last-minute jam job. The reason I'm co-heading DOGE is I think we need outsiders to bring actual accountability to Washington, D.C. So feel free to call your congressman and let them know how you feel about it.
You can't pass a bill without giving them their raises. Everybody knows that, you freaking morons. Just like during COVID pandemic, when everybody's shut down, businesses are shut down, and we're locked in our homes under house arrest. Jagmeet Singhs of the world and the MPs in Canada got 3 pay raises. We are all looking at this now, scrutinizing it and disseminating it freely on Rumble through the Bonginos of the world, who are reaching more people weekly than basically all legacy media combined. And you've got the biggest, brightest brains looking at this. And more importantly, you've got the critical eyes of others making sure that people get it right. Peeps, let's take a quick break from this vlog for a word from our sponsor, Gut Cleanse Protocol. Speaking of digestive issues, this is caused by a potential toxin that's in all of these so-called healthy foods that scientists have been telling us to eat with the fraudulent food pyramid for the longest time. And this potential toxin causes digestive issues, according to Dr. Gundry, a world-renowned cardiologist, that is affecting millions of people worldwide. Warning signs include weight gain and fatigue and digestive discomfort, stiff joints, and even skin problems. Well, Dr. Gundry explains these side effects are often mistaken for normal signs of aging. Well, Dr. Gundry explains that these side effects are often mistaken for normal signs of aging because digestive issues develop over a matter of years, sometimes even decades. I can assure you that the damage is probably caused by these so-called healthy foods, and it's far from normal. The good news is that you can easily help fix these problems from your own home. It's very simple. You just have to know which foods are actually healthy and which contain this potential hidden toxin. Go to gutcleanseprotocol.com/Viva and watch the video. It's that simple. gutcleanseprotocol.com/Viva. The link is in the description of this video. Because after years of his own research, Dr. Gundry is sharing his wisdom with the rest of the world. Check out the video, gutcleanseprotocol.com/Viva. And now back to the vlog. Just imagine this. Before the age of the internet, you would never have had access to the report itself. 1,500 pages. You would never have had access to the report itself. Period. You'd have to go to a library, go get a physical copy in person. If they had control over the internet, you might be able to access the bill if you wanted to, but your reach might be severely stifled if what you were saying was not flattering of the bill that they want to pass. So this is the bill. No, that's not the bill. I'm on the wrong tab now. This is the bill. That's not the bill. That's it. Where the hell's the bill? I just opened up the window. It's this one? No. This is the bill. Okay, I'm scrolling up and down here. Jeez Louise, Viva. 1,547 pages. So nobody's going to be able to read that, period, full stop, as certainly not within the time frame within which they want to get this thing passed. So you have people break it down into sections. You have teams break it down and look for what you're looking for, what is of interest to you. You know what was of interest to me in this? I'll tell you what I did first. Here, Control F, Ukraine. Didn't come up. Okay, interesting. I was just checking. Are they offering another $10 billion to Ukraine in the, what do they call this? The continued spending bill, whatever the hell this thing's called. Okay, so Ukraine's not in there. What I did learn, look, I went to say, oh, Russia. Oh, Russia's in there once. It's very interesting because it's either going to be not in there. Okay, fine, not covering it. In there 50 times. Okay, yeah, we got to spend more money for Ukraine, more funding for Ukraine democracy, yada, yada. But it's in there once. And so I find Russia in there once. And then I just go and look at what we're talking about here. Look at this, people. This is in the section of limitation related to countries of concern, conducting certain research. Well, if you come across that header, that doesn't mean anything. Done. Pandemics. Here, listen to this. Section 2315 of the Prevent Pandemics Act, United States 42, United States Code 6627, is amended to read as follows. This is the only section in the entire 1,547 pages where the word Russia appears. Limitation on countries of concern conducting certain research. What kind of research is that? In general, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, referred to in this section as the Secretary, shall not fund research that may reasonably be anticipated to involve the creation, transfer, and use of enhanced pathogens of pandemic potential, or biological agents or toxins listed pursuant to Section 351A of the Public Health Service Act, if such research is conducted by a foreign entity at a facility located in a country that is determined to be a country of concern as defined in paragraph 2. Countries of concern: China, North Korea, Russia, Iran, and any other country that as determined pursuant to subsection B. Okay. Can we go back and read this? Just so everyone's probably a little bit overwhelmed if you haven't seen my tweet from earlier today. Try to make sense of the double negatives, triple negatives, quadruple negatives that are going on in this statement here. Okay. The Secretary of HHS shall not fund, so he will not fund research that may reasonably be anticipated to involve the creation, transfer, and or use of enhanced pathogens of pandemic potential. They will, that's gain of function, as far as I understand it. They're not going to fund gain of function research, but it's not just that, period. They're not going to fund gain of function research if the research is conducted by a foreign entity at a facility located in a country of concern. So we're not going to fund gain of function if it's conducted by the foreign entity at a facility in their country. So first of all, just like the first most obvious thing, why the fuck are we funding in any realm, anywhere, what is effectively gain of function research? Why are we funding it, period? But this doesn't even say that they're not going to fund it. It doesn't even say that they're not going to fund it if it's done in a country of concern. They say we're not going to fund it if it's done by the foreign entity at a facility located in a country that is of concern. Understand what that leaves open by way of loophole. It leaves open the same loophole that led to the gain of function research at the lab in Wuhan, China. Well, it wasn't being conducted by, I don't know who it was being conducted by, but the argument might be there. It wasn't being funded by the government, so the funding is okay because it's conducted at a lab controlled by the foreign entity in the foreign country, that being China, but it wasn't being funded by HSS. It was being funded by Eco Alliance, whatever the hell that NGO intermediary was. This is outrageous. Like, period, full stop. It's outrageous. It is nothing shy of the ratification of funding gain-of-function research if it's at a facility that's not in a country of concern. You know what country that would include? Ukraine. And you know what's been going on in Ukraine? Bioweapons research. It's an oldie, but it's a good one. Bioweapons research, Newland tweet, Viva Frei. Oh, no, where? Oh, no, I wish I could get it faster, but whatever. I wasn't thinking we were going to get here. Why nobody believe that? Bioweapons, Newland tweet. Oh, come on. This is when Victoria Newland basically confirmed. There are bioweapons research facilities. Marco Rubio.
Does Ukraine have chemical or biological weapons?
Ukraine has biological research facilities, which, in fact, we are now quite concerned Russian forces may be seeking to gain control of. So we are working with the Ukrainians on how they can prevent any of those research materials from falling into the hands of Russian forces should they approach.
I'm sure you're aware that...
Don't you love their soft, nasally, well-curated, polite, clear? There are bio-research facilities, and we're very... It all makes sense now, and you understand it now, and it's always been under our noses for all of us to see in real time. So good. This spending bill allows HHS to fund gain-of-function research if it's done in a facility that is not run by a country of interest, in a country that is not a country of concern, Ukraine. And now we know it. All right. That's not it, though. There's more. Benny Johnson. We got Benny Johnson on it. I love Benny. Benny Johnson has his own political perspective to look through this bill, and he came across an element of wokeism in this, where they want to change the definition of offender to something less offensive to the offenders. This was at page 950. Justice involved individual. This is Section 338 of the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act is amended by striking offender and inserting justice involved individual, and in the matter of proceedings to paragraph A, by striking offender and inserting justice involved individual. I can understand the context under which this amendment is being proposed or this change is being proposed. If it's in the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, they're trying to give people second chances in life. You don't want to call them offenders because that carries stigma, so let's call them justice involved. You don't want to call them homeless because that carries stigma, so let's call them unhoused. You don't want to call them illegal aliens because that involves stigma, so let's call them undocumented migrants. Let's just change the meaning of words, and then lo and behold, you raging dumbasses, in 10 years' time, justice-involved individual is going to be just as pejorative as offender isn't today. Let's replace the word that we argue wrongly is offensive. There's nothing offensive about illegal aliens. It's what they are under the law. There's nothing offensive about offender. It's what they are under the law. What was the other one that I used earlier? I forget. They changed the terms for politically correct terms without realizing that if they thought the original term that they just replaced was politically incorrect, offensive, the replacement becomes equally politically incorrect, offensive over time also, you morons. So you got your element of wokeism, you got your element of inhumane crimes against humanity research on gain-of-function research that we can now continue to fund and carry out in Ukraine. And was there any other element to that I wanted to highlight? Yeah, that was my tweet on it.